Hey there everybody, Gideonstactical here. I just wanted to do a quick intro to this video that we're about to check out from a knife by Gerber. The first thing is, I just have to clarify, as you watch this video, you're going to hear me call this knife the MLF. I don't know what happened to me that day. I must have been dyslexic or something, I don't know, but it's called the LMF, not the MLF. So I know they sound very similar, and when you're talking really fast you almost won't even notice, but I just wanted to clarify this, that we are checking out today the Gerber LMF to not the MLF, which you're going to hear me say almost the entire video. So I apologize for that. I just kind of wanted to clarify that, and so you guys aren't confused while I'm watching this video. While you're watching this video, if there's some new knife out by Gerber. But anyway, just want to give you the basic specs as well, and then we're going to jump on into all the field testing that we're going to do with this knife. The basic specs for you is you're looking at an 11.5 ounce knife, which is pretty beefy. It's a hunky blade right there. 5-inch blade. Kraton rubberized handle. You got a hammer as well as a glass breaker on the back pommel with a lanyard hole, which is really cool. They give it in such a way that you're supposed to be able to hammer in nails if you had to, if you're building a shelter, working around on your military base or something, as well as a really strong glass breaker that you can pound out a window if you had to. The sheath itself also is an amazing sheath. I'd say it's one of the best ones on the market. It has 3 retention points right there built into the knife so that it is jump compatible, ready to be jumped out of aircraft or whatever. So it is jump compatible, as well as just a really high quality, multiple different types of lashings, from lashing to your lower leg to your thigh, carrying it on your belt, as well as MOLLE compatible. So it's a really multiple options, as well as there's a little sharpener in the sheath itself to be able to resharpen your knife out in the field, which is an added bonus. It's got a little carbide V in the sheath, so you can run it through the sheath and resharpen your knife if it gets dull while you're out in the field. So that's just an added bonus. So the sheath is really awesome, really strong, made out of 420 high carbon steel is what the knife is made out of. Rockwell hardness 55 to 57. And just overall an awesome blade. So let's go ahead, jump into the field testing. Let's check out this knife and see how it performs. So here's just some detail work for you with the MLF. This is what we just got out of it. Did an awesome job feathering this little piece of wood. I mean, you can see how paper thin almost that wood is, and I was just using the serrations right here on the knife. So I'll just kind of show it to you again. Here's a piece of wood, nice dried out. Using the plain edge first, you can see there, I mean, I'm getting those paper, almost thin shavings with the belly of the blade. Right there, you can see that. And then if I flip it over, and I'm going to go at it with the serrations. Those serrations are awesome because they can just do a great job of getting like that, even almost thinner. And regardless of which way I'm holding the knife, if I'm holding it, this way, or I'm putting my thumb on it, that guard doesn't get in the way and actually cups my thumb rather nicely, so I can really get in there and do that detailed stuff if I need to, and get those shavings going. So the detail work with the Gerber MLF does a great job in that capacity. Thumbs up for the detail work. Good job, Jesus. All right, so I want to do some tip test. Strength test on the tip of the MLF. I'm just going to be stabbing it in some wood, prying. This is a nice dried out hard pine. We're going to see how this tip handles of the MLF as you're sticking it in hard, prying, giving it a workout. Normally you wouldn't be doing this with the tip of your blade, if at all possible, but just kind of giving you a stress test basically of the strength that this baby has. I mean, it's doing a pretty good job so far. It's definitely doing the work that it's supposed to, and I'm definitely torquing on that. I mean, it's hard. I'm totally torquing on that thing. Trying to pry it out. Basically trying to make this tip bend and break is almost my goal with this. Let's see here. You can see there. See if I can show you guys. Tip's doing really well. No complaints with that tip. No bending or chipping or anything like that. The strength of that tip on the Gerber LMF 2 is nice and strong. So you're going to definitely be able to get that either tactical if you're using it, as you're going in the military, and you do have to use it to pry open stuff.
you know, or the tactical, or just the wood. You know, wood processing, you have to stab it in for some weird reason. You're doing what I'm doing. Have to dig out a hole for, you know, to start your fire or something like that because everything else is wet around you. That tip is really nice and strong and is going to do really, really well for your survival tasks. All right, so here's just kind of more of an edge retention and chopping test with the MLF. You know, like we said earlier, it weighs about 11.5 ounces. So, I mean, that's a beefy 5-inch blade. That's heavy. So it should have some weight to be able to do some chopping. I don't know how much, but I'm also doing this, just going to thwack on this thing to kind of beat up the edge and see how well the edge retention is. Because I hear a lot of people complaining about the MLF that, you know, oh man, I can't keep it sharp. And so far, I mean, I've thrashed on this thing now for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I'm not seeing any dulling in the blade, any rolling, chipping, anything like that. I'm not seeing any of it. And this is a very hard piece of pine. I mean, literally what I'm doing is trying to jack up this blade with what I'm doing here. After having done a lot of the other stuff, already done batoning, already done the feathering, detailed, other chopping tasks. I mean, this is not ideal. This is not really what you want to have to be doing with your MLF, but if you had to, the weight is really good. I mean, this is one of the most comfortable, I would say, chopping knives I've seen. This right here, this pommel feels really good in my hand. I can grab it really good with that lanyard. This feels very comfortable. It's not wanting to slide out of my hand. So I would say on that level, I'm very impressed. Let's see here. We'll just try some other stuff. Hack through this if we can. Let's see here. Again, this is not going to be the best chopper in the world, but if you had to, it would do some light to medium chopping, I would say. It's just not ideal. Let's see what else here. I can try and just beat on for us here. I mean, it definitely bites in there really nice, really good. And those serrations are taking about half of that beating right there. You can just see that, hopefully. Those serrations are taking a thumping. Let's see. So, after beating up on it, I'm going to take my gloves off. Let's test out how the edge is feeling. Still feels really good. Feels really sharp. I'm not detecting any dulling. There's no rolling on the edge there, on the serrations. I'll just kind of do some of the detailed stuff again to see how it does. You can see there, I mean, I'm getting a lot of work done still, even with those serrations. And I mean, this is brutalizing in my opinion, this knife. I mean, I would never be doing a lot of stuff you're seeing in this video with my knives, or at least not to this level. I mean, if you had to, you would, but that's not ideal to do with an MLF, is try and hack at something this big. But I'm not seeing any dulling or rolling or chipping with this steel and with the design of the blade. You know, and it's cutting just as well as it was prior. So edge retention and durability of the blade so far, I'm very impressed with. Here's the MLF. Did a great job processing that whole pile of wood right there. I was extremely surprised that I was able to do all that wood, batoning, splitting, all of that, and it didn't damage the edge, dull it, or the serrations. And we started out with a pretty large log. Very impressed with how the MLF is holding up with the processing of wood so far. All right, well, I'd like to do some batoning here, just kind of show you what the MLF is capable of. It has a 3/16 inch spine, a flat grind, and we got a 5-inch blade. So partly serrated, 50% serrated, 50% plain. And I've already done a bunch of other batoning, and I've been pretty impressed. for a 5-inch blade what this sucker can do and blast through and cut through. It does a pretty good job through most wood. You can see there, I mean, this is a really like frozen, this is a frozen piece of wood, ice all around it. But it's gonna split that stuff really well. You know, anything that this blade can basically span, probably about, I would say definitely no more than 4 inches, but you know, a 3.5 inch or a 4-inch piece of wood, it's gonna just split right through. We're gonna try this. This is kind of a weird beefy thing here. Let's try this sucker, see what it does. Got a bunch of knots and different things. Boom. And you know, you can make the tinder that maybe you don't have lying around. This MLF can do that for you if you're stuck in that survival situation. I'm trying to go right through a knot here. If you have to, it will do that. It'll take that beating if you need to. You can see there, split all the way through down to that knot. Now I can twist and try and pry it. Boom. And open it up. So it's doing a pretty good job with those batoning tasks. Gonna cut through that wood pretty quick. I don't know how well it's gonna do with this. Let's see here. Some wood it will not do. But all right, so I want to show you guys what happened to this MLF. I don't know if you can see that with the batoning that we just did. Right there on the guard, you can see that the rubber got really chewed up, and you can see the hilt in there, and some of that plastic actually kind of broke off. It's kind of like a rubberized plastic, and you can see the steel inside. That's not good. I don't like that. Now, the blade hasn't loosened up in the handle or anything else, but with heavy batoning, and I was beaten on the back of the spine and hit this a couple times, that plastic stuff kind of broke, and I don't like that aspect of the MLF. So I'm actually going to redact what you just saw there. I would not do a lot of batoning with this. This is not a batoning knife. You need to do other things with this blade. I mean, it'll do some light batoning if you're like very, very light splitting of, you know, maybe 2-inch stuff that you can get a really good handle on the front end of the blade, but do not hit the back end of this hilt right here. That's going to break and damage, and I don't know what that's going to affect the rest of the blade here. We're going to do some more tests and we'll see how it goes. But I wanted to show you that. Not good for all batoning with the MLF blade. All right, everybody. So as you can see in that field testing, it was just really disappointing to see that guard fail like that with the, in my opinion, very minor batoning that I was doing with the Gerber LMF 2. Now, everything prior to that batoning test that you saw, it excelled at. It chopped just fine for a knife of that size and weight. You know, the edge retention was really good on that 420 high carbon. I know it's a budget steel. I know it's not, you know, VG10 or S30V or even 1095 high carbon, you know, which are not steels that I would prefer, but it held an edge well. I didn't have any complaints with it, no chipping, dulling, rolling, or anything like that. And about 4 hours of testing and just hard use. I mean, I was hard using that, and I didn't need to sharpen it, resharpen it at all. You know, the feathering, the chopping, the stabbing, you know, all of that stuff, I mean, it excels at up into the point of batoning. Now, with that being said, for me personally, I need a knife, and I would never carry that knife. That Gerber LMF2, that is not a knife I'm going to recommend. That's not a knife I would personally carry. Now, with that being said, it's not necessarily a bad knife, but for me, in my system of use, I have to be able to chop, split, baton, carve. I got to be able to do all that stuff, and batoning is a heavy part of my system and how I use knives. Now, for some of you out there, you don't baton at all with a knife. You're like, yeah, I use a hatchet, or I just don't even worry about it, or I have a saw, or I have something else that I use instead. Well, then that's fine, and that Gerber LMF is going to be just fine for you. And for probably most tactical use, fighting, you know, you're not out there processing wood, you know, stabbing, fighting, cutting, working on a military base is probably going to do just fine. But for me, I can't rely
rely on that. I got to have something that I know I can just thrash on, you know, that has just handle scales on either side, and then I can see the tang all the way through, so I can just beat on it if I have to, and pry, do all the different things, and I'm not worried about possibly that craton handle loosening up with some of maybe really hard use that I maybe have to put it through, particularly in a survival situation where I have to survive out in the wilderness for a couple days or a week. So not a bad tactical knife, I would say. I just wouldn't bet my life on it. But it's up to you and your system. So let's just kind of jump back into it. I'm going to wrap up this review. Thanks for watching, guys. Hey there everybody, Gideon's Tactical here. Just wanted to do a final wrap up to the Gerber MLF review. I've really enjoyed doing this review. It's a very interesting new experience for me. So after the catastrophic guard failure that we had where the guard blew out with the, in my opinion, light batoning, I don't think I was doing heavy batoning with that knife. I've really found that Gerber has a great lifetime warranty because it was very simple. I just went on their Gerber website when we got back home after that trip, typed up a simple description of what happened, put it in a package, cost about $8, shipped it back to Gerber, and in less than 3 weeks, they've sent me back a brand new Gerber MLF2 in the packaging with actually the upgraded version with the seatbelt cutter as well. So that was really nice that they didn't give me any hassle, they didn't drag their feet, it wasn't months on end before they got me the knife back. You know, they got it back to me really quick, and you know, even gave me an upgraded blade basically. So I really appreciate that. Gerber's lifetime warranty is something that you can rely on. They do a great job with that, and I was very thankful, and I appreciate that from Gerber. But I would not recommend it for hard survival use. Out in the woods, out in the bush, that you got to prepare fire, chop wood, you know, do a lot of stuff that, say, this TAC-1 could do, or a BK2 or a BK10 Crewman. Those type of knives that are not fully enclosed with the tang are going to be a lot more durable and more hard use than, say, this MLF. So, but again, Gerber did a great job getting me back a brand new one with actually an upgraded seatbelt cutter. So I just want to kind of show you that, wrap up the video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.